February the 4th. Weather has been horrible all week until today. Today Alan has been musing about radio modems again, so he can sit on the beach and hack whilst gazing out over Swansea Bay. In the middle of his hacking, about 40 hours, and gardening, about 40 minutes, Alan also offered to back up my computer, and broke it. Grr. It works again now, but I think I shall have to learn how to do this myself. The proper way, rather than the, well, I wonder if we can do it like this way. Except for when I've been using Alan's machines, and he's recompiled and rebooted, and forgotten to tell me before doing that, I've never actually seen Linux crash before, so this was a new one on me.
February the 8th. Hacked kernels went for a wander on the beach. A couple of interesting features have come up that need looking at as the errata debugged. The diary is getting somewhat patchy, since right now I have rather a lot to do with the house and other things. Released 2214 pre-5. This seems to be solidifying nicely, and Andrea has been knocking more small races out of the kernel again. In theory this should be the best ever kernel. We shall see. Helped Telsa on the quest to install Linux on the PC 110 she has. PPP now works, and she has NFS running over it to install more packages. Sent Linus a lot of email. Got no response. Hopefully most of them will go in.
May the 3rd. Alan up early again. My world is being shattered here. I don't understand. He's been all over the world, and this has never happened as a result of a trip to lands with strange time zones before. Alan has been informed that if it's going to remain about 10 degrees warmer in the computer room than anywhere else, then I am putting the aera up in there, and she'll be drying all the clothes in there in future. He hasn't come up with a good reason why this can't happen yet.
June 10th. More no RPM hackery. It is beginning to look a bit better. Seems that fixing a few of the bugs fix a lot of the bug reports. There are still lots of interestingly weird bugs left to resolve. Things look pretty good. We do seem to be getting rapidly closer to killing all the showstoppers for a 2.4.0 release. Cleaning up the HPPA code, removing pointless if-defs, and a few other interesting things. Things that generally register high on the how to get Linus to accuse you of being on drugs scale. We have Andrew Hutton, he of the Ottawa Linux Symposium, visiting.
This is really not fair. That's something that we have lost. Alan never has time to cook anymore. Unless a visitor arrives. So I'm glad he came, because it's his turn to cook. This was 2001, yet another year Alan wasn't doing any conferences. So he's in about 3 different places in the next 2 months. Sort of live in dread of the year when he says yes, he will do conferences.
Part of the obligations of a leader. You have to make your public appearances.
I think the Linux project will run for a long time yet. At some point, someone is going to come along with something better. It may well be built using pieces of Linux. And that's the great thing about sort of the free software world. You can actually look at all of this other piece of free software and say, well, they do some of the bits right, but I passionately believe that for the future, for whatever the new generations of processors or computing hardware we get, we can only use some of these parts and we need to redo things. And because it's free software, you don't have to throw it all away. All of the work so far can be shared, can be reused, and we can build something better, just building on rather than discarding previous work. Having it as a free item means that you can modify it, you can read it, which from an educational point of view, from a learning program point of view, is wonderful. For a long time, operating system courses have had to be taught on a theoretical basis. Now you can actually point people at real code and say, this is how they implemented it. Why did they do that? Do you think you could do it better? It gives people control of the endpoint as well. So all of the services being delivered to their machine across the internet. There are a lot of these companies who would like to control in every detail how you can use their data. Having a free operating system is an important step into preserving some of the basic freedoms, the real intent of copyright, and these kind of things.
For years, I never expected to meet any of them. Everyone lived so far away, well, from here, and when I first got onto the net, which is about 10 or 11 years ago, the magical thing was meeting people at the other end, even just over email. The idea that you might actually meet them someday, that was completely new.
Well, I've only just written the damn thing.
Oh, just reminds me, I have some great news for you.
Uh-huh.
September the 7th. This modem link ain't big enough for the two of us. I am resorting to the @ command to get things now, because he has this strange idea that FTP-ing kernel patches is more important than my silliness. Odd, that. There is a perception that hackers are male and they have female wives. People email me and say, why don't you get Alan to install this for you? And I think, I do actually know how to install software on my own computer. And there's plenty of women who do hack. There's several female names in the kernel credits. And there's loads of men who have no idea what to do with a computer. Alan is now horribly busy trying to catch up with stuff, and has left me in charge of organising a new filing system. Paper, I note, for those who think of filing systems as being something to do with computers. This is going to be fun. Organising Alan is an interesting experience. Alan has been doing lots of hacking stuff, but I did see him a whole 2 times today. First, he came down for the rugby. Lesson for the South Africans. You don't need 5 drop goals. You just need 1 at the right time. And then he was about in the evening as well. Shock. He then beat me at every game of bagatelle we played in the evening. I don't think I like this Alan being sociable and away from the computer thing anymore.
People have looked at sort of said, I could write a Unix kernel, I ought to write a Unix kernel, it can't be that hard. Linus was the only one daft enough to believe he could do it. Everybody else decided that clearly it takes hundreds of people and a lot of investment to write a kernel, so I can't do it. I think that the big thing was Linus simply believing that he could do anything. He just seemed to manage to avoid getting into stupid arguments. He's prepared to say he's wrong. Well, normally he's prepared to say he's wrong. Sometimes he doesn't admit he's wrong, but changes things anyway. So, well, Linus is finished, so in some ways it's hard to tell because he's very quiet. You see a lot less of him now on the cases we do meet because he's always been sort of surrounded by journalists. When he's not surrounded by journalists, he's not normally planning on sort of going to the bar for a few hours afterwards because he's got a family to worry about.
We're now 45 metres over the gain line here.
I don't know much about Linus. The first conference that I went to in America, I was in the same room with Linus. He was there with his family, and he was just sitting there talking quietly, and people were able to come up and talk to him. And I suppose I could have said hello, but I couldn't think of anything sensible to say. Thank you for making this toy for my husband. October the 10th. Read many how-tos. Read Slashdot and ZDNet. Decided how-tos were more interesting than we need more girl geeks because then I might have a girlfriend. And what would I like to see at a Linux conference? Booth babes. And women should stop whining comments. Bye-bye, Slashdot.
January the 2nd. Working flat out on 2.4 merge stuff. It seems everyone has suddenly woken up, shrugged off their hangovers, and decided to send me patches at once. Fed Linus another block of patches, but I am definitely merging faster than I can shift upstream.
January the 4th. Alan popped his head into the bedroom sometime before midnight. 2.4's out. And then vanished for 4 hours.
January the 4th. More Linux 2.4.0 test patch merging, and then out pops 2.4.0 and the attempts to get 2.4.0 AC1 ordered and out the same evening. Linus thoughtfully shuffles tons of patches and sets rsync on the FTP mirrors a ton of work to do before the 2.4.0 kernel tree finally got out. Mousetrap set.
January the 5th. Everyone keeps noticing, 2.4 is out. I keep waiting for it to make any difference to life here, but I don't think it's going to. Got bored with computers after that. Did exciting housekeeping things. Got even more bored. Kidnapped Alan to a local Indian restaurant instead and deprived him of his email for an entire hour and a half. I am evil.
January the 5th. Linux 2.4.0 AC1 out and apparently working fairly well. 2.4.0 in fact seems to be doing rather well for a .0 release. No signs of mice.